Hello, everyone. Forgive my little absence here. I have been moving around so much. The past 2 months of my life have been insane, but we are back and I'm happy to be here. And thank you for hanging with me here. Super excited to be back. And there is a topic that's been kind of present for me that I feel like could be nice to touch on today. It's something that actually in the healing framework or really in any of the healing arts you sort of learn early on, and that is that I mean, first and foremost and primarily speaking here, you can't heal people, you can't awaken people, you can't save people without their active consent and action towards whatever that goal is. That there's I think for many people who sort of move in a healing frame and who feel like it's part of their mission to sort of facilitate the awakening of humanity, if you will, that it can be easy to get caught in the sort of washing machine of trying to wake everybody up. And, I think as you go along your path, what you find is like, first and foremost, that the best way and really the only way, frankly, to really awaken others is to ultimately inspire awakening through your own awakening, right? And the only like the best way to heal others and the only real way to heal anyone is to be able to heal yourself and to hold the energetic frame that offers other people into that space. That's kind of what a true healer does, right? The first and foremost like thread of the work of a healer is on themselves. And once they have a sort of clear-ish container to hold space for other people can come into their energetic frame and are activated in that capacity. And when there's an agreement and investment on the other person's part, that's something that an exchange that's possible. But I think a lot of times those of us who like have sort of been on the awakening journey or have been on the healing journey or been on the spiritual journey, been on the saving ourselves journey, we have these expectations of other people that will get constantly disappointed because what you find is that not everybody wants that. And it's a really humbling like realization to have when you feel the absolute just bliss of being awake and seeing through the lens of clarity and being sort of a seer, if you will, where you can see through the illusion and the delusion and the matrix reality and be one who can like live in a different way than that. And the spiritual satisfaction, the spiritual fulfillment that comes from living from your spiritual gifts and living from a higher consciousness space and living from the awakened frame is so amazing. I mean, there's not even words for it, and that you have to actually experience it to even know that it can be easy to be like, all right, everybody, we need to wake up. And so we're out here like just trying to help people awaken. And well, that's like a noble cause. And I think we can always hold space for other people. It ends up being an energetic leak if you're not aware of how much you expect others to come along the path with you. I mean, as much as they can even see and feel the radiance of your bliss in the awakened frame that you have found for yourself, or in your healing journey, or in your having sort of saved yourself, if you will. Still, many people, I was going to say most, and I probably could, frankly, are so committed to either their own suffering or their own stories or their own traumas or being a victim to their reality or X, Y, and Z, the thing or things that keep them from truly awakening or truly taking the next step in their life, that they're more committed to that than they are to truly awakening. Because the thing about awakening is that it takes such radical accountability, so much so that like you don't really slip by yourself at any point. You're aware of how you're thinking, you're aware of how you're showing up, you're aware of your energy, there's this radical sort of self-awareness that is required as you journey along the path to say, wow, I'm thinking about that again. I'm actually creating that reality for myself, or that's a story I have told myself, and therefore it's perpetuating itself through my personal reality. And it's not something I want to continue to perpetuate, and just being so kind of willing to upward spiral from who you think you are into moreness constantly and consistently. And it's not easy, while the bliss side of things is amazing, the journey is arduous, and it's tasking, and it's dark nights of the soul, and it's tower moments, and it's one of the hardest things. I mean, I'm staring at this wall painting over here of butterflies. I mean, imagine the arduous like process of caterpillar becoming a butterfly. Like you got to be really committed to get into that cocoon, not knowing what's on the other side, but there's an intuitive nudge that says this absolutely must be done. And suddenly all you see is darkness, you're wrapped in darkness. And then eventually you emerge just this like immaculate being so far from where you started, right? And there's a spiritual commitment to that that not everybody has. I wonder, and people ask, are all people here to awaken? I don't know. I mean, I personally think in my scope of things, I would think so. I would think that that would be something you'd want to do, especially just in the frame of it being your own becoming, that you want to sort of live on the growth edge of what's possible for you and what you're capable of. And that when you do that, there's just like the, again, ultimate satisfaction of knowing that you're constantly in your own like process of becoming and you're willing to do that. And you can see the results of that in your reality day to day. And it just feels like you're doing something here. To me, that's like what helps me along is like knowing that I squeeze the life out of my gifts and I help as many as are available to be helped. Side note in what I'm talking about here. And I just sort of lay it all on the table that I don't leave anything left. And I'm constantly becoming and constantly committed to my own becoming, and that is helpful for other people and helpful for the future of humanity. And maybe not everybody's here to do that. I can't say yes or no. I don't feel like I have a clear answer to that. But I will say that I have a clear answer that there are a lot of people who are committed to not doing that. In fact, maybe still the majority, right? Because I think many people are still so stuck in the worldview that they're in that to destabilize that by way of awakening would just be too much for some people. And maybe that is true, because as I've said, it takes a very skilled person to even take the path, even begin the journey of awakening, because it is going to challenge everything you think you know about yourself and about the world and about how things work and about who runs this and da da da. Like under every rock, there's going to be something that questions what you think you know or who you think you are. And you have to be willing. You have to be willing to evolve. You have to be willing to shed constantly layers of who you think you are and what you think the world is. And it's not easy. So I understand that. And it becomes an energy leak if you try to take everybody with you. And the truth is that not everybody can come, not everybody wants to come. And you out here trying to save people or even heal people without them coming to you saying, I want to be healed, or awaken people without them coming to you saying, I'm ready to awaken, ends up being an energy leak. As much as we want to help everybody, it's not possible. And it's even in like the Reiki framework, for example, a lot of the healing modalities framework, the teachings is like there's a story in the Reiki modality framework that the sensei, if you will, who sort of found Reiki, when he first kind of got going with it, he was offering it to the community for free. The whole community can come, you can come for free, you're going to get healed. Let's go. And what he found is that while even many people signed up partly because it was free and they're like, we're going to try this out, that as soon as they left the chair, they went right back to their ways of existing that kept them in the small box of being unhealed, if you will. That they were so committed to the lifestyle that kept them suffering or in pain or small or disempowered or whatever else, that even having gotten this like, beautiful opportunity of healing and they've got it for free, you don't even have to do anything, you just have to show up. Immediately they went right back to the things that they were more committed to than their healing. And it's super telling. I think we have to remember this, like the people who can align with you, absolute amazing. And there will be people at every level of your evolution who can. You will find new people constantly, maybe even just one person at each level, but still to meet someone at the vibrational match of the next level of yourself is so rewarding and so confirming and affirming. And it always happens, even if it's a random person that doesn't hang out very long, or, a friend who comes and goes. Like people will always be there to confirm and affirm your every next level, but it may not be the people who you think are going to come. So there's this major non-attachment in every capacity as you evolve and as you elevate into your highest self, that says that I would love everybody to come, but I'm not willing to put everybody in my backpack because that would ultimately weigh me down and it would slow down my ability to ascend in my sort of fastest track, if you will. Not that it's about time, but it does. It slows us down and try to take people with us. And it becomes a vibrational mismatch. And you end up having to constantly come down from the person you've worked very hard to become in order to meet the people at their level and to say, come on, guys, let's do this. And they're like, no, they're telling you no, and you're trying to bring them. So I think the key is that there will be always people, all the people you need will always be there. A. B, that you can still have relationships with people even if they're not on the path, or even if they're unwilling to like overcome the very obvious like self-sabotages and things that keep them small or keep them suffering, the stories that they're so committed to that keep them small or keep them suffering. Sometimes you just have to let people have that, and you have to learn how to love people through that, and create a healthy dynamic for you, so it's not, you're not always like healing them or helping them, and just let them be where they are, and let yourself be where you are. That it doesn't always have to be an energetic match if it's, say, a family member that you want to still curate a relationship with, or an old friend that you still want to curate a relationship with, even if you're at two very different places in your lives. And so I think it's important to like let people rise on their own, and that you're knowing, see that your energetic and your vibrational bandwidth is always inviting people up. And that's enough. I've said this many times here, and I think it's really important because it can be arduous in this world, in a world so committed to the falsehoods and so committed to their own suffering and so committed to the illusion, married to the illusion, that we just spin wheels and waste so much power and so much energy trying to take everybody with us. And I do believe that the new leaders of the new paradigm will be those of us who have just said, okay, I'm just going to meet people where they are. If my like vibrational awakening facilitates theirs, fantastic. If not, fantastic. There's no attachment. I have no preference either way. As much as we would love the whole world to rise and the whole world to live in this utopic thing that's very possible, but we're not there, and we have to meet the world where it's at right now, because we're at a very important juncture with humanity is at a very important juncture, and we're towing the timeline of going over here where we're maybe even merging with machines, say. And what does that mean? And what will that look like? And what will that mean for the evolution of humanity as a species? And who will we become? And to me, the one thing that separates human being from machine is soul. So if we're merging from machine, we're going in the direction of machine, does that mean that we will become soulless as a species? And if so, we should probably do something about that right now, which is the revolution of awakening, the evolution of consciousness as the true revolution. And that we have to just pedal to the metal now. And, let those who come, let those who get tidbits from your journey, get their tidbits, let those who just need a little seed planted for their future next life, let the seed be planted. But keep going, just keep going, and go, I will say, go as fast as you can in a non-time linear way, but in other words, stay committed, because one of the things that slows us down the most is other people, and trying to take everybody with you, and trying to be out here a savior. The only way to save people is to save yourself first, and to show other people what that would look like, and to make that seem appealing, like something you might want to do. And then maybe one day they'll catch on, or at least be inspired in some capacity to kind of follow your footsteps and to realize what you've done. And maybe not. And to have no attachment for or against is like the Buddha's way. I think that's even a quote of the Buddha, like the master is the one who has no attachment for or against. And you're just so radically present, and you're so radically meeting the moment and meeting people and meeting the world exactly as it is, without trying to change it necessarily, that you facilitate the awakening of others just by being alive. And I think we need to remember, quantumly speaking, it's not a word, but that's how that goes. Awakening is a vibrational experience. It is an energetic taking the lid off, more than it is anything else. Because even the people who sometimes talk really good spiritual truths, like, they're still very much on their journey. We're all very much on our own journeys. There's no one way about it. It looks completely different for all different people. But it's what my point is, that it's not about what it's about your vibration. And it's about the energy that you carry and the clarity of your being to carry higher vibrational truths. And that's what really speaks. And that's what really reveals. And that's what really helps other people, is to be a container for the highest vibrational potentiality, so that other people can't even help but wake up a little bit just by being around you at the grocery store, when you're at Thanksgiving, when you're out at the bars, whatever you're doing, you're bringing the possibility for awakening just by existing. So that felt like it's on my spirit right now. I think like many of us are like in full, there's even like the great lock-in of the rest of this year. I don't know who came up with that, but I'm for it. Like, let this be the great lock-in, you guys. We are at a very, very important juncture right now, and we cannot allow humanity to move even further away from the soul of humanity, or humanity will become something completely different. And if that's where we go, that's where we go. I mean, many have said that's already, it's inevitable. If that's what it is, okay, but let us give the final willingness to say, you know what, let's keep the connection to the soul just in case we might actually need that. And let's try a different path. And if nothing else, not to say that technology will not continue to advance, because 1000% it will and is, and that is just a train that's you're never going to stop. But potentially we can help create it and help curate it to interface with the soul of humanity. So there's not a loss, but even maybe potentially an expansion in that capacity. I mean, anything is possible, but we really need us, those of us who are like committed to the evolution of our own souls, to stay there and stay there heavy and to come out stronger and fuller and even bigger and more loud and more willing and more capable of keeping humanity on the tether of the soul of humanity. So that's what I've got. It felt like a lot, but it was present today. And so I'm just going to bring that to you guys. Um, I plan to be back next week. I try not to make any promises right now because I'm so all over, but I really want to get back with you guys. So know that I'm thinking about you all the time. And let me know if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, anything you want me to talk about. Otherwise, I'll see you very soon. Much love, everyone.